Madam Cooperstein, and a slice of life missing for weeks during this pandemic returned today in a big way. A lot of people spent their Saturday at parks. That weather out there is so beautiful, really played a role, but also some parks reopened too, and encouraging trends in the numbers continued. In New York and New Jersey today, the number of new COVID-19 hospitalizations and the total number of people hospitalized both dropped. Governor Cuomo also announcing that New York State will hand out 7 million masks in nursing homes to NYCHA public housing residents and to low-income communities. Meanwhile, that perfect weather and the increased access to parks pulled even more people outside. Streets near several New York City parks have closed off as well. That move meant to help people maintain a safe distance. And we have team coverage for you that starts with News 4's Miles Miller at Van Cortlandt Park in the Bronx. And Miles, I saw this with my own family, went out to get some fresh air, and the police are at the parks watching over people.
Oh, the police have flooded Van Cortlandt Park and the area surrounding it. Adam, I can tell you that it seems that everybody's out. The roads are clogged. The highway was clogged getting here. But if you can't social distance in Van Cortlandt Park, which is nearly 1,200 acres, then you can't social distance anywhere.
I've been waiting for this a long time. I haven't been out the house in over a month.
Quarantine fatigue led many to pack New York's largest parks, and the NYPD was on hand to make sure everyone kept their distance, with 1,000 cops fanning out across the boroughs.
This is the nicest weather we've seen this year. People are going to be out. People are going to be walking in the park, and we encourage people to come out and get some fresh air. But you have to be keeping socially distant.
And you must wear a mask. For those who don't have one, officers are handing them out.
It's a good thing because it keeps everybody aware of what's going on.
To prevent overcrowding in parks, the city opening up more than 7 miles of streets around them.
There'll be a little trial and error over the next couple days, but we're hoping it's going to be a big success.
Officials have said the city can't fully reopen without expanded testing.
Who's been leading me?
To that end, Mayor Bill de Blasio touring one of the city's newly opened testing sites in Coney Island. Governor Andrew Cuomo touring an MTA facility in Queens to see the deep cleaning procedures that'll take place when the subways start shutting down overnight next week. The governor saying it's a crucial step after the death toll climbed today after days of decline.
That number has remained obnoxiously and terrifyingly high.
And hospitalizations, of course, are trending down, but still hospitals are seeing COVID-19 patients. Those hospitals will start collecting more information from those patients as the city and the state try to do more contact tracing to get ahead of the virus. We're live at Van Cortlandt Park this evening. I'm Miles Miller, News 4 New York.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who's still going into hospitals now. Miles, thank you. Mount Sinai Hospital is going to be closing its controversial field hospital in Central Park as soon as Monday, after treating 315 coronavirus patients. This one was set up in March by Christian humanitarian relief group Samaritan's Purse. They did it to help with the surge of COVID-19 hospitalizations. City Council Speaker Corey Johnson and other officials have been calling on Mount Sinai to close the field hospital over the group's practice of requiring volunteers to sign an anti-gay statement of faith. We are told 40 of those volunteers will be relocated to Beth Israel Hospital. Well, New York is doing widespread antibody testing to try to get a better picture of how many people may have been already infected with COVID-19. And in New York City, around 20% of people are testing positive for antibodies. That means they've likely been exposed to COVID-19 and now have recovered. The Bronx is the highest percentage of people testing positive at more than 27%. Manhattan has the lowest in the boroughs at 17%. Health officials say testing positive for antibodies does not guarantee immunity. Meanwhile, New Jersey state parks reopened today after being closed for nearly a month, but they're operating a little differently now. News 4's Adam Harding is at Liberty State Park with the changes that you're going to see.
Well, weather-wise, you could not ask for a better day. The sun is shining, and because of that, there are a lot of people here at Liberty State Park in Jersey City. And while state parks here in New Jersey are opening back up, the governor has a very strong warning for anyone who's visiting. State parks across New Jersey are back open in what could be the state's biggest test in weeks in the fight against COVID-19.
It started. Woo! Being cooped up inside all day is, I don't think, the way humans are meant to live.
Restrooms and playgrounds will remain closed. Group activities and contact sports are not allowed, and face coverings are recommended. The governor tonight with a strong warning for any visitors.
We hear reports of people not taking either their health or the health, maybe even more importantly, of other park goers seriously. We will not hesitate, I don't say this with any joy, to close them again.
In Newark this weekend, the mayor has announced a new plan to help test the more than 5,000 living in public housing complexes for the coronavirus. It comes as Newark's Penn Station will begin changing its overnight hours for a daily deep clean. Starting Sunday, the station will be closed from 11 at night through 4:30 the next morning. And a couple of other things to keep in mind if you were to go to some of these state parks. Not only are masks encouraged, you must also practice social distancing, and parking lots will be capped at 50%. There are reports tonight that some parks have actually had to turn people away because they reached capacity pretty quickly. In Jersey City at Liberty State Park, I'm Adam Harding, News 4, New York.
All right, Adam, thank you. And here's where things stand across the tri-state tonight. More than 465,000 people have tested positive for COVID-19, and an astounding number, nearly 29,000 people have now died. And now that warmer weather has arrived in our area, people in Connecticut are also being warned to obey those social distancing rules so they don't have to close parks and beaches there. The state expects several of its parks to reach capacity this weekend. Visitors are being told to prepare for the possibility that their first choice could be closed by the time they arrive. So you want to arrive early if you're going. The DEP there suggests heading to a less popular park earlier in the day. Another good tip. Well, New York District Judge has thrown out a lawsuit by the Nurses Union against Montefiore Medical Center in the Bronx. The New York State Nurses Association claimed the hospital there was ignoring requirements that the healthcare workers receive an N95 respirator mask every day. The judge said he didn't have the authority to address the nurses' concerns. He did say the nurses and the hospital were in a better position to reach a resolution on their own. The Nurses Association has also sued the New York Department of Health and Westchester Medical Center. Those suits are still pending. Well, many states have started to lift lockdowns so people can get back to work. They're going to see how this goes. Like in Arkansas, fitness centers checking temperatures at the door. Gym members are also being told to wear masks when they exercise and to keep at least 12 feet away from each other. In Texas, restaurant owners are hungry for business.
I anticipate this being pretty intense over the next couple of weeks as we try to navigate this and keep everybody safe.
And in Minnesota, two opposing forces shut down traffic around the state capitol building this morning. It was over the extension of Minnesota's stay-at-home order, now in place through May 18th. President Trump has been urging that state's governor to make a deal with those protesters out there. All right, the Senate will receive rapid coronavirus testing after an outcry over a lack of capacity. The Department of Health and Human Services sending three rapid testing machines and also 1,000 tests to the Senate. And this new supply comes after the Capitol Hill physician warned there were only enough supplies to test senators and staffers who were sick, and the test results would take 2 to 3 days. Senators are going to return on Monday just as Washington nears its peak of cases. Too busy to appear before the House, but not the Senate. That's the message from the White House when it comes to Dr. Anthony Fauci's testimony on the government's response to the coronavirus crisis. Now, according to a White House spokesperson, appearing at a House Appropriations Committee hearing Wednesday is not appropriate. However, the administration will let Dr. Fauci testify before the Senate Health Committee the following week. Well, across the U.S. tonight, more than 1.1 million Americans have now been diagnosed with COVID-19. More than 65,000 people have now died from the virus.